Hello and welcome to MGP591. I'm Kev, and with me this week there is Sheepdog and Pab. Say hello, boys and girls.
Hello, hello, hello.
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 Hi.
Hello.
Anna's not with us this week because she is poorly sick because people are scum and don't wash their hands on cruises. Which,
do you have a ChatGPT story of Anna? And
this feels like a big risk for me to take, getting a ChatGPT ready for Anna, but I will do it. Hold on, let's go on. I have a ChatGPT conversation called Sheepdog's Turkey Saga, where I go into every week. I don't know why it's called the Turkey Saga. It must have been about a turkey one week. This week, Sheepdog, I'm typing it now. Sheepdog is back, but Anna is off sick. Let's have a message from her, please.
Oh,
last week's one with the cat hat thing was, I feel like that was so eerily realistic. I actually was like, has this happened before? Is this something that I can... Yeah, you know, I just could picture it in my head and thought, yeah, no, I feel like this probably has happened to me at some point. It was weird. Like other weeks, it's funny, but it's not quite. I don't know. But this week was so accurate. I felt odd.
Well, let's see how well it knows Anna. Bearing in mind, I haven't trained it about Anna at all. So anything it knows about Anna is going to be based on what it's found on the internet or what it's just gathered from. Because I get a lot of my titles and TikTok descriptions and video ideas and stuff. I have a lot of conversations with ChatGPT throughout the day. So it knows who Anna is, but it's not had the same level of training that Sheepdog Bot has been given. So this might not be as accurate as yours are, but let's see. I'm now reading. Right, before we get started, we've got a message from Anna, who unfortunately isn't with us this week because she's ill. She sent this over earlier, so I'll read it out. Oh, wow. Hello, you bunch of idiots.
Anna, how rude.
I'm not here because I'm currently buried under a mountain of blankets, surviving on tea and biscuits like a proper sick person. I was going to listen in, but honestly, I don't need Sheepdog giving me a headache while I'm already suffering. It's going up to Sheepdog anyway. I love it. Try not to break anything while I'm gone. And for the love of God, don't let Kev start a rant about trains again. What? When do I ever rant about trains?
Always.
See you next week, unless I die, in which case I'll haunt Sheepdog first. So yeah, get well soon, Anna, and Sheepdog, maybe keep an eye out for poltergeist activity next week. There you go. That's all ready. Right. Do I talk about trains? Where's she got that from?
Ask her. When you get off the podcast, just burst in on her while she's asleep and say, what do you mean trains? Just start her off on one.
I mean, it nailed her tone. Hello, you bunch of idiots is how she greets us most weeks. So
I feel like she'd have done it in like a hey-o kind of way.
Yeah, but I like the fact that she's gone after you, even though, I mean, Pab's got off completely free there. I'm now wondering if ChatGPT knows who Pab is.
Classic Anna going after me, though. I mean, every week you can hear, you can cut through the tension, which is just... Oof.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is listening into the conversations me and Anna have, and we do occasionally talk about how annoying you are. So I guess it's picked that up through context as well, maybe.
You want to mow me down with a train or something, and she's like, oh, trains again.
I mean, she does often laugh at me crashing my Lego train. That's her favourite TikTok I've ever made, when I was so proud of setting up my motorised trains that I was filming the first time they ran, and they just ran straight off my shelf and shattered on the floor. She loves that TikTok. So maybe it's heard her talking about that. But yeah, Anna's poorly sick because people are scum and don't wash their hands before going into the buffet on a cruise ship. I'm also sick, so if you hear me sniffling in the background or if my voice doesn't make it to the end of the podcast, that's why. Because yeah, I've come back and got straight into spending the entire day recording videos, and as the day's gone on, my voice has been slowly escaping my body. So if I make it through this podcast, that's going to be quite impressive. I probably shouldn't have streamed for 5 hours yesterday when we got back as well. But, you know, Civ 7 launch day had to do a big fat stream on that. And
I've got 3
time doing that as well.
I've got 3 questions. One is about the cruise. So I'm going to start there. With this food that people touch with their dirty hands, I mean, you've been to buffets before. Surely you weren't taking the stuff from the front where all the dirty people...
No, it's not the food that's the problem. It's the tools. So I'm not dumb enough. I'm not getting like the first wave of illness where people have sneezed on the ham. But if they've not washed their hands after going to the toilet and then they pick up the tongs, I mean, my choices are use their poo covered tongs or be even more disgusting and just grab at the food with my fingers. So that's where the problem lies. So I did have a system where we would, because you had to wash your hands at a sink with soap on the way in. And then once you got to the food bit, you had to use hand sanitizer. So theoretically, there's 2 layers of protection there. A lot of the old folk in particular, old people are disgusting. Old people would ignore both and argue when they were challenged about it. But I would wash my hands, then sanitize my hands, then get my food, and then sanitize my hands again before eating. So I thought I was completely protecting myself from it. But the problem is with the water refill stations, I saw one disgusting old man walk up to the water refill point, which, bearing in mind, has a sign on it saying, don't fill up your water bottles on here for safety reasons. Like, use the glass. There's glasses there. Use a glass, you dirtbag. So I would fill up my water bottle by filling up a glass and then pouring the glass into my bottle, making sure the glass didn't touch the water dispenser, also didn't touch my bottle, trying to be as safe as possible. The guy in front of me in the queue for that pulled a screwed up, filthy, like used water bottle out of his pocket that didn't have a lid on it. It was just, you know how when you've finished a water bottle, they can just scrunch up. He kind of scrunched it up, put it in his pocket, pulled it out, put it to his mouth, blew in it to reinflate it, and then jammed it straight onto the nozzle, completely in contact with it after he's just blown into it, filled up his bottle. And I'm like, well, now I have 2 choices. I either don't have any water because there's no other way to get any water, or I have to have his disgusting mouth juice all over mine. So I decided to just go to a different dispenser somewhere else on the ship because I didn't directly see someone be disgusting on that one. But I know full well people are being disgusting on every single one of them. What is wrong with you people? Don't be disgusting.
You should have got those rubber gloves you mocked me for when I was on the underground.
I think you'll find I had some rubber gloves because we ordered from Wingstop the night before when we were in a hotel in Southampton, and where it has the cutlery on Deliveroo, it said, do you want cutlery? Do you want gloves? And if takeaway is offering me gloves, I'm taking gloves. I just wanted to see what kind of gloves they'd send. It's basically the ones you get at the petrol station. They charge me 40p for them, but I now I had a pair of them that now live in my suitcase, so I have some emergency gloves. But again, gloves aren't going to protect me from matey's mouth juice being all over the water dispenser.
I mean, you could have ran the water dispenser for a bit, just without a bottle under it.
Yeah, but he's still got his germs on it, hasn't
he? Gotta wipe it all down.
My second question, you streamed for 5 hours yesterday.
I did.
Your good pal Sheepdog, who's not very well at the moment, hasn't spoken to you much lately, pops in, says hello to you. You completely mug him off for like 20 minutes straight.
I'm a busy man. I have a lot of people in my chat.
You kept reading the comments directly under mine, and I thought, this absolute swine. So I
genuinely didn't see you. I would have ignored you if I had have seen you.
That makes
on
me feel
this
a bit
occasion, better. Actually didn't see you.
I was like, what's going on here? I came in and I was like, I hope this is. I hope you either really like this or absolutely hate it, because if you're in between, then I'm gonna have to buy it myself, and I can't afford to do that right now. It wasn't this long of a message, but I was
if I'd have known you were there, we could have fixed the giveaway. I had a bunch of codes to give away. We could have instigated the fix if I'd have known you were there.
I think some of it was rubbish jokes that I'm not surprised you skipped over, because you were asking how to pronounce T or something like that. And I was like, it's Roman numerals. His name's 10 or 10 or 10 or something like that. And you just blanked it. I was like, yeah, I probably deserved that. But no, that makes me feel better. I thought, oh, is he grumpy? He's unlike Kev to be passive aggressive. He's normally just outright aggressive.
It was the first stream I've done in a long time where I was actually concentrating on the game for most of it as well. So rather than me just waffling about nonsense, I was actually trying to learn to play a new computer game that I'm still unfamiliar with. So maybe I was being an actual professional streamer.
Maybe. I mean, I did think to myself, he is working, and I've just turned in to ask very direct questions about the quality of the game that he's literally just started. But yeah, third question would be, how was it? I mean, I know that's why we're here on a podcast, but
I mean, by the time I played it on stream, I'd already put 40 hours into it on my Steam Deck on the cruise. So by the time I started the stream, I was ready to moan about it, because I was quite frustrated with my experience with it playing on the Steam Deck. I know there's been anyone who's seen any of the reviews for it knows that there's been a lot of criticism about the UI. The UI is very clunky. It's also very buggy. I would say
see, I saw, yeah. You found out you could presenter and
yeah, on average, I reckon every 20 minutes or so this would crash on the Steam Deck and I'd have to completely restart. Plus there's some parts of the menus and the user interface and stuff that I just can't work out how to access using the controller. I don't know if it's because I've managed to break the touchscreen on my Steam Deck, so I no longer have a touchscreen, but theoretically, I mean, this plays on PlayStation as well, and there's no touchscreen on that, so there must be a way to access these menus without a touchscreen. So there's stuff I can't access. I couldn't work out how to use the new commanders that are in it, like the military commanders. I couldn't work out how to set up trade routes. There's a lot of stuff in it that's really counterintuitive and the game doesn't properly explain. And then when I got back, I loaded it up on PC, and immediately playing it on PC on a big screen with a mouse, it controls so much better, other than the fact that, like you just said, the spacebar doesn't work anymore. For years, Civ and FM have trained me. Spacebar means continue, and there was no spacebar continue in it. And I played it for like an hour while I was getting the stream set up, making sure the audio and everything was right. And it actually worked on PC and wasn't going to crash constantly. And I was, again, completely fed up with having to constantly move my mouse down to the bottom right-hand corner and press spacebar. But loading it up on stream and just having grown-ups there to teach me all the stuff that they've had the patience to figure out, or they've had the patience to Google, it was immediately announced to me that enter is continue, and that changed the world because I mapped that to my thumb button on my mouse. So now I'm playing one-handed again, like I do Football Manager. So that immediately took it from like a 4 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10. But then I had grown-ups explaining to me how the military stuff works, how the merchants work, trade routes are still very counterintuitive on Civ 6. If you wanted to set up a trade route, you'd train up, you'd produce a merchant, and then a menu would come up saying which town do you want to trade with, and it would just set up the trade route. Now you train your merchant, that menu still comes up, but you can't set up the trade route from there. You have to first send the merchant to the place you want to trade with, and then within their menu there's a button that you press to build the road, basically, and then you can go back to the original menu. But the one you actually need to do doesn't ever pop up, and there's a lot of weirdly unintuitive things within the UI. There's still some of the controversial new stuff that I've not even scratched the surface on yet. This whole changing Civ every age, rather than picking a civilization and being in control of them all the way through, you pick your leader. That leader doesn't have to have any relation to the Civ you choose at the start. So last night I was Xerxes, I don't even know where he's from, and I was in charge of Egypt, and I played through the whole of the Age of Antiquity on my stream last night. It took like 4 or 5 hours. You get to the end of the Age of Antiquity, you then get a load of crisis stuff happening. So the last 10 or 15 turns of the age, it's just a major crisis. We had a happiness crisis. And basically I had 2 of my cities just completely turn on me and defect to another Civ. But that Civ had a city defect and come to me because, again, it was almost like city swaps going on because everyone was having the same crisis and there was just revolutions going on everywhere. And then it gets to the end of the age and you have to choose a new Civ. You keep your leader in charge, but you have to choose a new Civ. All of the city states disappear, so any relationships you built up with city states are gone, and they put new ones in. Most of your units disappear, so if you're in the middle of a war, you could lose all of your units. Relationships you've got with the other leaders all reset, so again, you might be in the middle of a war, it ticks over, now you're not in that war anymore. And it's basically almost like a new game in a completely different age where the goals are different because you're now in the age of exploration. You're going to go over and find the new world, and so you've got like different priorities to what you had before with different relationships. Friends are now enemies and vice versa, and you've got to rebuild your military. Half your buildings are no longer relevant. A load of your cities have now converted into towns, and it's almost like it's a reset where you've just got kind of the bare bones of kind of the structure that you had before. Like your cities that you've got are still there, but that's about it. And you kind of start again in a new phase of the game. And the only thing that carries over is your score from before. And you can actually start the game at the start of any of the 3 ages as well. So if you just want to play a modern age game, you can play a modern age game. And when you load it up, you basically have a load of multiple choice. I'll put a city, and you can kind of always set your pieces out and then pick it up at the start of the age as if you'd already played through 20 hours to get to that point. So there's a lot of different, and I'm only 40 hours in and I'm barely scratching the surface on this game. As with any Civ game, it's going to, and similar to what I always say with Football Manager, it's going to take hundreds of hours, dozens of playthroughs before I actually know if the game is good or not. But at the moment, I mean, I'm playing it now. I'm enjoying it.
What is the like the point of that changing bit? Is it just an idea of that they thought might be fun, or is there like a logic, like a I can't think how to word my question, but it's like, is this something that they've tried to make things more realistic?
I think the idea is that you don't have the same civilization that goes through the entirety of history. Like we don't still have a Roman Empire ruling the world now. So you have these different ages where different civilizations are the dominant ones. Like at the start of the game, it'll be the Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians. Once you get into the age of exploration, they're all gone. You can't be those civs. It's a whole new wave of civs that come in that are more related to like the Middle Ages. It's like
if you were the Romans and then you have that happiness crisis and everything, the next act, are you then the leader of Italy?
No, you choose who you want to be.
All right, so you could switch to being...
It takes you back to the menu, takes you back to the start screen, and you pick a new civ off of a choice of... I mean, initially it's only a choice of like 4 or 5 because it's got this whole leveling up thing within the game where me as the player have to keep leveling myself up and accumulating points to unlock other civs. So I don't even have all of the civs available to me at the moment. I've got to play through loads of different... Like I'll play as Egypt and that will unlock the Incans. I think that unlocked me playing as Egypt. But if I want to unlock another civ, I'll have to play through the Antiquity Age again as somebody else.
But are you the if you switch to the Incans, let's say, you're still in the same place in the map?
You're still in the same place. You still have all of your same cities, but you're now a different civ with your different unique buildings, different unique units, but still in the same place.
But they're set from that age, and then so the idea is that the Egyptians became the Incans, let's say, in your playthrough, and then the next time along they'll become another civilization, and it'll be more relevant to that. Okay, that makes sense. I thought you were saying you'd built your city up in, let's say, where Italy was, and then suddenly you moved off to Japan, and it's like, well, how does that work? Like, doesn't make any sense.
Well, a lot of the exploration age is moving off because you start on one continent, and by the end of the Age of Antiquity, I'd completely revealed my entire continent, and my continent was full. And I think there was 10 players in my game. There was only 3 of those. I think it was 4 on my continent. 2 of them had been wiped out. So there was only me and one other guy left on my continent. So presumably somewhere else in the world, there's another continent with a bunch of civs on. And I guess the idea is there's an empty one somewhere. So we can all go and fight over the new world. It's more a case of you can't get off your continent in that first age. So whoever I'm sat with at the start, I'm fighting them. But then as soon as you move into that age of exploration, the oceans are available. You can get out there. And I've not played through an exploration age save yet. I assume there's going to be a bunch of empty land somewhere that we can all go and take on, unless it's just a case of, well, now my continent is available to them and vice versa, and I can then go and start new wars with new people. But I'm guessing we've got like a America style empty place that we're all going to race to and fight over, and it sounds like it could be quite fun. But in addition to all that, you've now got quests as well. You have like little quest lines, storyline things, so you have to choose what kind of specialism you want to go down, and then you'll get different quests and things. Like the one I'm doing now is I'm working down my brain is not working because I'm poorly. I'm working down the money one. What's money? Economics. I'm working down that quest line. So it wants me to study certain civics and then set up a certain number of trade routes. And each one of them ticks off different like points and opens up different parts of the quest line. And it's not just a case of it's not really sandboxy anymore. It's more a case of you've always got something that you're working towards, something you've got to be doing. And in addition to all that, you still have the other players that are trying to kill you, or maybe trying to work with you. It depends. But there's a lot to it. It's a big game. Luckily, it doesn't crash as much on PC as it did on Steam Deck. I've had a couple of crashes, but it's not constant like it is on Steam Deck. I would very much question the verified on Steam Deck tag that it's got at the moment, because it controls weird. It's quite hard to see. It doesn't seem as native to Steam Deck as Civ 6 did. Civ 6 ran beautifully on Steam, but that even ran well on the Switch. This still seems a little bit clunky, like needs some optimization, needs to stop crashing. I mean, I bought the big expensive early access one, and there were I think there's been 2 patches that have come out since early access started. So they are trying to fix the mistakes that they've got, but I think they are acknowledging as well that there's bits of it that are broken. I mean, we'll probably talk about Football Manager in a little while, but there's it seems that there's a game that's been released with a broken UI and it's really buggy, which I was led to believe earlier in the week that wasn't something that was possible to do. And you had to cancel games if that was the situation you were going to be in. But it just shows the different attitudes of 2 different companies.
I think Civilization often starts a bit just barely working, and it gets better over the first year, doesn't it? So
it's usually very stripped back. When you get to the end of the previous one, after it's had a bunch of DLCs and a load of new features added in. I mean, this one doesn't even have any English leaders. So there's rumors that they've been, I was reading on Reddit, they've apparently been spotted in the code. So I think they exist and they're going to be sold to us as DLC, even though they already exist. I mean, the English leaders are ones that have always been in there. And obviously, as an English person, I like the idea of having an English leader to play as, but they're not in there currently. So I guess they're going to be part of the first DLC, or an unlockable somewhere along the line in some way. But yeah, it is very stripped back, but there's so much new in there. I'm just enjoying it. Feels like a different game. Whereas to me, six initially felt like a disappointment after 5. And then I eventually learned to love 6. Whereas this one, I'm not disappointed with it yet. It feels so different. It feels like the biggest change in Civ since 4, I guess.
I would agree that 6 felt like they'd taken some bits from 5 and changed it, but it was mostly 5. Whereas, yeah, this looks incredibly different. I was surprised. I watched for a bit on the stream, and then I fell asleep, not because of the stream, but just in general. It looks very fancy. It looks very new and polished, like graphic wise.
Graphically, it's really pretty, really, really pretty.
You were getting very hyped about the rivers, and I don't know if it's just because I was watching on my phone.
But navigatable rivers. I mean, we've been asking for it for 20 years. I was playing as Egypt, and I had the Nile running through my Civ, and I could go down it on boats, and it changes everything. It's revolutionary. It changes your city placements. It's brilliant.
I was confused because I don't know if it was just there was a little river or whether I just didn't see it properly. But to me, it looked like the river was only like a couple of they're not squarely, but like whatever they are, squares, hexagons. It's only a couple of hexagons long, and I thought, well, how far are you going on that? But I'm guessing I just couldn't see it for whatever reason, and it went quite far then.
Yeah, so I mean, some of them don't go particularly far. Some of them go super far. But I've had one that's you can kind of get across continents in certain positions using these rivers, and the rivers are so crucial to getting your food supply and getting out there and exploring the world. And like I'm looking at one on screen now where I've got a big navigatable river that goes like 3 or 4 hexagons from the coast to a massive lake that then covers another 6, and then it's got a number of other little rivers coming off it. So from this one spot, you can almost get halfway across the continent, and you could fit 4 cities around it easily. And it just changes the way the game's played. Even the way you build the cities is completely different to how it's been before. They've removed the workers or the builders or whatever they've been called in various versions of previous games, they don't exist anymore. There's no faffing around having to tell them what to do, having to train new ones when they've used up their 3 actions that they're able to do. When you expand a city, it doesn't happen automatically. You basically pick which hexagon you want to develop, say what you want in it, whether that's going to be farmland or whether you're going to put a building in there, and then all of the work on it is automated. Roads are built automatically, so there's a lot of the busy work that was in it before has been automated and simplified, which is super duper, and it's added in a whole load of extra confusing stuff like these changing of the civs and I can't even tell you what the other 2 ages are like because I've not played in it. I just keep restarting and trying to master the antiquity age. But I think I'm comfortable. I actually think I might be a Civ streamer now. Now Football Manager's dead to me. I think
did
I'm
it go well?
streamer. Yeah. I mean, I don't stream for 5 hours very often, and it was lots of fun. So I think
maybe
expect to see more from me, boys and girls, playing Civ on Twitch.
You've made me think that maybe I will try and get it at some point in the next month. But also this river thing, I'm thinking I might be able to make a historically accurate River Thames when England are added. Put Tilbury Fort to defend the capital and all of that. That feels like, for some reason, that just unlocked my history GCSE in my head or whatever it was, A level, and I suddenly thought, oh yeah, I know a bit about all that because we lived next to it, and they made us learn it. But that'll come in handy when I'm playing Civ. It's on PC and PlayStation, did you say?
Not everything. It's on Switch even.
So it's on Xbox. One of them. I'll play it on the telly.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's the first one that's come out on everything simultaneously. Normally it's PC first, and then they do the console versions, but it's released on everything on the same day. So by everything, I assume that means Xbox as well. I've not heard anyone mention it on Xbox, but I assume it's on Xbox. I've played it on Steam Deck. I know it's on Switch. I know it's on PlayStation because someone mentioned that to me.
The reason I thought Xbox might be better for me than PlayStation is I'd want to play it on my PC, but I would quite like to play it on the sofa in the short term. So I'm thinking if I can play it on both with one copy somehow, that'd be good. But I don't know if it works like that, to be honest. But anyway, no, cool. I'm glad it's good then.
Super duper.
Do you want to get on to the burning elephant in the room? I'd forgotten that we hadn't done an episode since that dropped.
Yeah.
I texted you Saturday morning. I'm guessing you knew by then. I messaged you quite early, being like, I've just seen the news. And then I saw a video come out about an hour later.
2:34 Friday morning, this dropped. God. Bearing in mind, me and Anna drove down to Southampton on Thursday. We were due to board our cruise at just after lunch on the Friday. I woke up at 7 on Friday morning, which again, further proof that none of us had a heads up as creators. There's so many people saying, oh, you all knew. Well, if I'd have known, I wouldn't have done my reaction video 6 hours late in a hotel room, having not done my hair yet, which is what I ended up having to do because I didn't know. I woke up. I hadn't even got an alarm set. I just rolled over, checked my phone just because I was awake, saw that Twitter was on fire, and got out of bed and turned a camera on. But yeah, 2:34 Friday morning. And the reason it was then is because Sega had their quarterly investors call at 2:30 a.m., which had been scheduled for a little while. And the Football Manager cancellation was 4 minutes into their investor call. And the moment that part of the Sega announcement dropped, Football Manager released their statement on their socials. So 2:34 a.m. on the Friday morning, it was announced that FM25 is cancelled. Not only is FM25 cancelled, they've not actually named FM26 as a next game. They've talked about, I forget the exact wording they used. I think it's the future game or the next game. So there's not actually any confirmation that we're going to get a game at all, even this year. We don't know that the next game will be FM26. If it is, we don't know if it will come out September, October, November 2027. Who knows? So Football Manager is completely up in limbo, and yeah, it's not ideal. It's
properly weird, isn't it? It's like I just I know that everyone said everything that could ever be said about this, and God, the hate you were getting on socials was ridiculous. Like, even by my I like to send you cheeky messages, but even by my standards, I saw some messages and thought, yikes.
That's because I'm not a 9-year-old. I mean, I saw something on Reddit saying, my old buddy Zealand did a completely unhinged video where he basically had a breakdown about it. And the thread on Reddit was, at least Zealand's finally being someone who's telling the truth. And it's like, he was mental in his video, absolutely unhinged. And I mean, the boy knows what he's doing. He's tapping into how a lot of people are feeling. Yeah. And I went down the route of being like a normal adult and having a normal adult reaction and trying to apply some context to it. And it's, at the end of the day, it's probably the least damaging outcome they could have had in a situation that they've massively ballsed up. If they'd have released a game that didn't work, having already delayed it to make it work, then that is going to do far more damage than just cancelling the game altogether. At least this way, the refunds were done automatically and very quickly. So that's all been handled the right way. It's all been handled correctly. Everyone who's paid any money towards it has now got their money back, and it was almost instant. And they're not ripping anybody off. They're not releasing a game that doesn't work. The problem they've got for themselves now, of course, is when the game finally does come out, if it's still buggy and broken, I don't know how many more chances they've got as a developer, both in terms of with the audience and with Sega, because Sega must be losing patience with it, because it's costing an enormous amount of money. Sega have gone out and bought them the Premier League license, and now they've not released a game on it. I can't even imagine how much money that must have cost them, but I don't know the terms of the license agreements or how long they were, but this is a year of the Champions League license down the toilet. It's the first year of the Premier League license down the toilet. Now, it might be that the legal nerds are able to extend those contracts and they don't end up losing too much, but they could conceivably be losing tens of millions of pounds through the additional development costs, the expansion of the studio, hiring all the new staff to build a new game, getting in all these new licenses. They've got all the women's football licenses in there as well. So there's a lot of very expensive licenses, and they're not bringing in any money this year because they released one game. It's not coming out. All of those contracts they've got with the likes of Netflix and Apple Arcade and Xbox Game Pass, they're not going to be paying them this year because they're not going to be getting any money. As far as I'm aware, there's still no agreement in place to keep FM24 on sale. So because of the way the licensing works on the Football Manager games, you can't go out and buy FM23 now because those licenses are for a set period of time. You can't buy old Football Managers. They got a special extension to keep FM24 on Game Pass through to March to get people through to the new game. But we're potentially going to hit March and it be pulled from Game Pass, no longer available for sale anywhere. And we might actually be in a situation where anybody who doesn't already own it can't play it, and they literally can't even sell the old ones. So there'll be zero money coming in as a developer. And that's a big problem from a Sega are going to be putting on pressure perspective. But also, if the game's trash when it comes out, people are already losing their minds. Imagine how they're going to be if after a 2-year wait, it's still rubbish.
A lot of people were planning on skipping 25 to let them iron out the kinks for 26, weren't they? I've heard that. Every one of my mates was saying, well, I wasn't going to buy it this year anyway. And I'm thinking, well, the next one's going to be the pancake. This was the pancake, the one you do to get it wrong the first time, and then you got your eye in. Then you could do, this was that one, and that's what 26 is going to be. And it's like, oh god. I guess in theory they can put more into it and they can test it more, but yikes. I don't know what to expect at all. Like,
I think what people have to realize is Yeah, like you were saying, people saying they were going to skip 25 and get 26. Well, the one that's now going to be called 26, if it is 26, if it is out this year, that's just the finished version of 25. That's not going to be. So I can't imagine all the stuff that was going to be taken out is going to be put back in. Like, people are like, well, if it's coming out late, they'll put international football back in, they'll put versus mode back in and fantasy draft back in. If they have time to do that, they probably had time to get 25 out now. They need to spend the next 6 months finishing the game that isn't fit to release now. They're not thinking in terms of adding new features to that. If we get a game this calendar year, it will be the game that would have been FM25, just with a 26 painted on the front of it. And I imagine it's still not going to have international football and versus mode and fantasy draft and shouts and all this stuff that's been removed. It's going to be a very, very, very bare bones Football Manager that will hopefully, should still have those Champions League, Premier League, women's football licenses, and will have a new user interface that hopefully will work. And the one that they've put screenshots of on Steam doesn't look very good. So, and hopefully it's a match engine that works. And not only do they need to work, they need to be an improvement on 24, because I think any attitude that people might have had of, well, I'll cut them some slack, it's the first one, that's gone now. They've had their slack. 26 needs to be a massive upgrade on 24, and I just can't imagine it's going to be, because it's going to be very, very bare bones and basic. I think the best thing they could possibly do is, and I'm not trying not to read too much into it, they've removed the 25 from the logo on their socials. It just says Football Manager now. There's no year on it. I think the best thing they could do now, even though they said they wouldn't ever do it, is release it as just Football Manager, not put a year on it, and do it as a software as a service thing, and either do it as a subscription model or get it out as a free to play, but you have to pay to add the new squads every transfer window or something. Or I think
there's got to be ways, hasn't there? Like, yeah, they can either do,
stick it on early access in June. If they were trying to get it ready for March and it wasn't going to get there, if it's playable by June, stick it on Steam early access for 4 months. Do that. That'll calm people down, because then they know it's early access. If their plan is to just go quiet for 6 months now and do their usual September announcement saying FM26 is coming, and then do a beta in October and release it full price in November, and then it not work, I think that could be not. I doubt anything could be the end of Football Manager at this point, but it could be the end of Sports Interactive, because Sega own that IP. Sports Interactive don't. So if Sports Interactive can't produce a game on one of Sega's most profitable IPs, they'll just give it to a different developer, and Sega have got previous for doing that.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that wasn't Sega at the time with Championship Manager and Football Manager, but it's changed hands over the years, hasn't it? The names have gone different directions. I was going to ask, are there not any other football management games at all then that no one's suddenly got? Oh, I'm streaming this for the gap.
Not anything that's any good. I imagine I did a tongue-in-cheek tweet at Square Enix like 2 weeks ago, because they apparently own the Championship Manager IP because they bought Eidos. So they own that IP, and I kind of tweeted at them saying, if they want to bring that back, I'll have a copy, please. I'll play it. And if EA weren't in such a mess with EAFC, I imagine they'd be having a look at potentially doing a new version of FIFA Manager, but they're in more of a mess than Football Manager are. I don't know who did LMA Manager, but whether that's something that could be looked at. There's lots of games from the past that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had Premier Manager and World Manager back in the day that I also played alongside Champman. Surely someone out there's just got that code. They could just slap a load of new icons on it and a couple of updated names.
We'll see. I might do it. I might buy the IP, do it myself.
You probably get Premier Manager for the old 98 game. Get that quite cheap these days.
Exactly.
Oh, what a world, though!
It's all a pickle. So I am now a Civ 7 streamer, at least for a few weeks, while that's exciting and new. I am a Lego YouTuber, and I am a poor man, and they are my defining characteristics currently.
The trouble with being a Civ streamer is you can't. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go visit the Battle of Hastings for a video, and then go and visit like other big battlegrounds from history.
I think I can get all of my travel and business expenses through the Lego. I spend enough money on Lego to not need to do the travel business expenses for a while. We're good.
You're going to get a room full of like Egyptian warrior outfits and all the different.
Oh, well, yeah,
warriors
obviously I
first.
need the costumes. I'd be mad not to have the costumes. Come on now. You got to have a costume.
I suppose, you could meet up with the prime minister of a country and do a video of you like arguing with your council and in the Houses of Parliament and pretending you're the manager of England.
Exactly. There's lots of things.
It all works. It'll be good. But no, oh God, I mean, what a busy week. I feel like that was just mad, and like you say, you've gone through everything on that, and it's interesting to see where that goes. Part of me was hoping they would get it done by aim to release earlier than October and just basically bring it out after the transfer window shuts. Transfer window shuts, it's all up to date, it comes out. That would be good. But they don't seem to prioritize that at all, do they?
I mean, the danger with doing that's something people have talked about. The problem with doing that is you're then in the same release window as EAFC. And the reason they release in November now is because they're afraid of being the same release window as EAFC. So I doubt they're going to deliberately go up against it. That seems like a big risk on a game that's already turning into a big risk.
Have you noticed that Pab hasn't spoken in 40 minutes?
Because we're talking about games he doesn't give two hoots about.
He's still there, Pab?
He hasn't even started recording.
I dozed off 10 minutes in.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to talk about Fortnite or a Metroidvania or anything really interesting like that, you pervert?
No, I was going to make a suggestion for you, but it don't matter now.
I'll take a suggestion. I love suggestions.
Now that your game's not out in March, have you seen what's the there's a Xenoblade coming out in March?
Is there?
Yeah, and you played them, didn't you?
I did. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, there's another one coming out in March, so that you can fill your time with a new Xenoblade.
That sounds like an excellent idea, Pab. You're a genius.
I've started paying attention to release calendars and stuff now. So I can.
Well, you've only been a gaming podcast host for 10 years at this point.
Oh, I do it all the time anyway, but I know I do it more with the intention of notifying you of games coming out and Sheepdog and everybody else, because otherwise I get told off.
Good idea, Pab. Well done.
I know.
So, last we spoke, Pab, you were enjoying the wonders of Final Fantasy, and then I saw that Kev also started playing Final Fantasy.
I'm still only an hour in. I haven't touched it since.
But are you still playing Rebirth, Pab?
Yes, most definitely yes. I don't know how long this game is.
long. I mean, I put in like well over 80 hours, 90 hours.
I'm 25 in now, and the last thing I did was I got to the Gold Saucer. I don't know how far.
The third region or the fourth region? I can't remember.
So last time before
the 7 regions, if that helps.
Before last week, I was in Junon, and I was going. Okay, so last week I went to Junon, and then we had to do. Since last week's recording, I had to do some sort of like band like.
Do you know what that right? This was one of the moments where I felt like they'd taken the old game and they'd kind of just injected it with nitro. It was ridiculous. That was like one little 2-minute, like, you just got to sneak in this march and get a TV score and it cracks on. And in the new one, it's like a full on day or more of your life, isn't it? Like you spend ages. I love that. That was such a.
It's similar to the mini game of the dance sequence in Wall Marketing remake, where you have to do this like on parade thing with a bunch of soldiers, and you just march up and down, and every now and again you press a button, and either you press it or you hold it or you tap it really fast. I'm told that whatever you do, you win regardless. I didn't realize.
Well, it's complicated because you have to get all of the different members of the troop around the town.
Yes.
And then you have to do the moves to basically fit in and get close enough to the president. But I think if you do it perfectly, you get like a reward that's, so basically.
Oh, I didn't know.
Someone that decides a bit like, we need the TV ratings on this to be perfect, and if they are perfect, you get given an award and a medal for
right.
boosting their image.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, I think I got just below that. I was very disappointed, and I was very much like, I can't bother to redo this. This is so long.
No, but, it's a pain. Yeah. It was fine. It's just long, like you say. The
thing I quite liked with that as well is that, again, in the prequel, there's certain times in the story where Shinra soldiers are just like, yeah, okay, you crack on, mate, and they kind of let you do what you want to do, and it didn't really make sense. I just assumed they were scared of you, but now they've done this bit, they're like, oh, Captain, good to see you again, sir, and you can't really I assume they know you're not really one of them, but you just see them out and about, and throughout the game, then they're just characters who are like, yeah, we know who you are, and we salute you, sir, you're a legend. And that just felt really good for universe building and writing, because, as I say, it didn't really make sense in the previous bit, where it's just like, why are these people just standing aside? Why aren't they trying to kill me?
Well, yeah, I mean, you've just taken them to first place in this thing. You're
basically the best boss they've ever had, yeah.
Yeah, so that you like their Ted Lasso or whatever it is. You are taking them up the rankings. So I did that. That was like the first thing after last week's recording. We did that, which then took me onto a boat. I was on a boat to go to Costa del Sol.
Yeah, again, just turning that into a cruise ship with the card game genius.
I was in a, but I hadn't played any Queen's Blood up until that point. Sheepdog.
What on earth, Pab?
I know. I played it once. I played it once because you have to. But up until that point, I hadn't done anything. I hadn't made any decks.
I asked my mate how he was getting on, and he was like, "I've just diverted everything to playing this card game." And I was like, "Good. That's basically what I was checking you were doing." You haven't done that, Pab.
No, well, no. After I think last week I had to do a set of missions doing Fort Condor, and I hated it. And then I got straight into this and on a boat, and it's like, no, you're doing a Queen's Blood 5, I think, because then someone else turns up, I think, or something like that. So
it's worth playing that because it's got its own little side plot that's just fun. It's
But yeah, so I did that. That's fine. I did it. Basically, I did it. What somebody watching over my shoulder, going, right, play that, do this there, just because I hadn't played it hardly at all. I'd done one game of it, so I didn't know couldn't remember how to play it. I've got used to it now. I've gone back and done some other games, in like the grasslands and what have you. So I've done some of that. So I'm getting better at that. But like I say, I've not played it again since then. Then we come to Costa del Sol, which I thought was the mini game haven that it was. And my word, it's just. I feel like this game is just the original Final Fantasy VII with mini game filler everywhere. It's not. It's just insane.
I feel like Costa del Sol was the only time where I felt a little bit like, okay, chill out, because I think again it's just a house in the prequel. It's just like you can buy a house there, but otherwise it's just like a little bit of plot and then you crack on. Yeah, they decided to be like, yeah, it's this massive party town.
Yeah,
they added some more plot there, which was good.
It's like a holiday resort, and you can play Chocobo Rocket League and go around on these little Segway things, and there's so many different little mini games that you've got to do just to be able to get to the point in the story. You got to do like about 5 mini games before you can get enough credits to earn beachwear, because you've got to go to the beach and you can't go in your own gear. You've got to get beachwear.
Yeah, it's the law.
Only to get there, and then you've got to fight and you don't have your gear with you. You're like, great. You get to the beach. Oh, it's reaching my sword. Oh, it's not there because you're in shorts and flip flops.
It's part of the fun, though, isn't it? You had to fight with what was there.
You get an umbrella and you beat them up with umbrellas. So yeah, we did that.
I think that was to justify them being in front of characters that they could have quite quickly massacred if they'd had their weapons on them. Do you know what I mean? Like they need to be able to talk without the temptation to put a bullet in Hojo or whatever.
Yeah. So we did that and did all that nonsense in there, going, okay, that's the mini game mayhem done.
Yeah, I would say that's for me. I thought this game was generally perfect, but that was probably the dip, and then like if it dips at all, and then the rest of it's back on track. I feel like that's just an odd. I think it was probably meant to be an intentional kind of genuine break. Whether that was just in the old days or what, I don't really know. But it gets back on track from here. I think it's the Gongaga region after the Costa.
So like, I did the Costa del Sol, and then went to Mount Coral. Is it? And you go through Mount Coral. And like I say, I was like, just let me get on with the actual story again. Because also, I'm losing thread of what I'm actually doing in the game at a certain point because I'm doing that many games. And I was like, I was voicing my frustrations about Costa del Sol, and I'm glad to be rid of it. And somebody went, oh, you ain't got to the gold saucer yet. And I went, what do you mean? And they were like, just you wait, because you thought that was bad. I was like, oh, don't start that. So we'll wait and see on that one. The verdict is out on that.
The gold saucer is just a giant arcade. So like,
it is a theme park. You would go to a theme park with a big burly man who wants to fight you straight away as soon as you walk in the doors. That's so. Yeah, we did Mount Coral. I didn't do anything in Mount Coral World, so I want to go back to that at some point because that's where Barrett is comes from, and you learn some of his story there. But I was just like, I want to get to this point where I get to the gold saucer because it's the next part. So I want to do that, and then I want to go back and do some of the side quests and stuff. But yeah,
it's funny because this plot is at the moment it's relatively simple in that you're kind of pursuing the men in the black shadowy cape things.
The robes, yes,
the robes, that's the word, I couldn't think of it. And they are all just mindlessly walking across the world, and you're trying to figure out where they're going and why.
They're like lemmings. They just keep turning up in places, and you're going, how have I taken this many hours to get to it, and you're just here wandering across this rope bridge. I've been down mine carts and stuff. You didn't go on a minecart race down this track.
I mean, they're like so out of it. Some of them walked,
they're just shambling away,
through caves, underwater, whatever. I don't know if they walked underwater. They swam or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just so the plot wise, you don't have to worry too much because a lot of it is about telling other people's, telling Barrett's past.
They revealed like in that Mount Coral region, you go to a doctor and they're like, these are all ex-soldiers, and then it's like. And then people are like, you're going to go that way. And I'm like, whoa, is this like the where, Cloud starts going on the downfall and he becomes one of these fellas? And I don't think it is going to go that way. But he might start to degrade sort of thing. I'm assuming there's reasons why they're kind of linked in that sense. But yeah, it's been interesting. The story has been so like kind of threadbare because I'm doing that much stuff in between. Like Remake, I also think because I didn't play it as it probably intended me to do and do the side quests and stuff, I just mainline that. I kind of the story kind of stayed with me, and it kind of made sense as to me doing certain things because I'm kept by these certain mini games and different things that I have to do in the open world. And the obsessiveness of me wanting to fill out the map and get all these little bits and pieces, I just lose track of what I'm doing in the main story stuff, and that's a bit frustrating me.
Like priority wise, I feel like Remake is kind of, you've joined Avalanche, they're blowing up parts of Midgar, they're trying to undermine Shinra, and like the end game of that is to just go and attack them head on. Whereas like this one kind of kicked off with, oh shit, we've got to get away from them. What's going on with these weird men in the robes? Why are they all going this way? Let's go that way as well. And then it will unfold. But now I'm thinking about it, it is like, it does take a little while to do that because obviously you're focusing a lot on like, well, how do we get across this river? How do we get across this bit? Oh God, the president's here. How do we get close to him to attack him? Oh, so there are bits going on, but I feel like as I say, once you get, because there'll be like there is a few bits with this Mount Coral and the Gold Saucer and that where you get kind of diverted by just things not going your way, and it's like there is a bit of like, if those bits weren't there, you would just crack on. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like you're set on a bit of a sidetrack because you just there's other people that don't want you to get there and that kind of thing. But it does all get explained and does make sense by the end
I
of
imagine
it
it will at some point.
Yeah.
But it's just been one of them things where it's like I just wish I knew more, because it is really just kind of drip feeding you the story in between all these other things going on in the world, and I don't know. It's just, maybe it's like I say, maybe it's just the way I'm playing it has just made it become less coherent to me. But just, like I say, we'll figure it out. Right? But I did like how I got to. We've unlocked Yuffie as well. Yuffie's in the group now at this point, and they're all like, Yuffie's like dead excited to have a break and go and have some fun at Gold Saucer. You're like, excuse me, love, we were just down on that beach for however many weeks doing all these mini games over there. I don't need a bloody break. I need to get on with what we're doing. All these mini games and different. I'm searching for stuff with chocobos, and I'm climbing up cliff sides trying to find random stuff.
So
minecarts.
When I look back on this, I realise how unhinged I must have looked to my family, because once you get to, I think it's costed us so, there's a mechanic in the game that doesn't pay off until like quite a bit away from where you are, where basically, depending on how you treat everybody, you'll have like a scene where Cloud's in a room and someone like he's asleep and someone knocks on the door, wakes him up, and then they go on a bit of a date and have a chat and all of this. And in the old 90s games, it was like it was either Aerith or Tifa, and if you were really mean to both of them and did everything exactly right, Barrett would knock on the door and you'd have a chat and a beer with him. And I never got that right. And so I was obsessed with making sure I did everything to make sure that Barrett was the person who knocked on the door. I did find out afterwards that it's not considerably easier to get him to do it in this version, but it used to be that they were the only three options, or maybe Yuffie was an option as well. But now it's like every character's an option, and there's so many convoluted ways you can go about it. I think even if you have absolutely everyone in your team hate you, then there's an option for that as well. And I was obsessed with making sure I treated Barrett exactly right and everybody else slightly less right, so that I got on a date with him. And when I was talking to a mate about it, I said, I think my family must have thought I'd lost my mind, because I was really like, it was all I was focusing on. Even when I'm doing other missions, I'm like, right, I got to make sure I keep him happy. Keep that in mind, because the way that they'll have a little happiness meter above them, and whoever's got the top one will be the person who has a little knock on your door and takes you out.
Is this coming up for me, or is this already gone? Should this have already happened for me?
You're just in the midst of like the how much they like you thing. So I think it's when
I've got like the happiness meters above them all at the minute.
Yeah, but you've got quite a while till it is relevant.
I thought it already happened. I was like, because I'm sure it ever ended up going.
Aerith makes you go on a date with her. Yeah.
And she said it's a date, and then I was like, I wasn't understand it was a date. It was more like, you dragged me out of here and we're going somewhere. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then she said, we've been on a date, and you're like, whoa. I did that was not what it was made out to be.
I find that a bit weird the way she does that. I think she's doing it to push his buttons a bit, isn't she?
I don't know, but it's one of these things that I think currently Tifa and Aerith are on the same happiness level, and then it's probably Red and Barrett, and then Yuffie, just because she's been the last one in the group sort of thing, so she's got some catching up to do. But yeah, I'll work on that. It's been all right. Like I say, I've been just chipping away at that one. It's been one of them things that I'd like to play. I do it probably like an hour at a time now, realistically. So I don't get tons of time. At best, you might get, like, say, 5 or 6 hours a week, maybe 7 or 8 if you're lucky. So I'm not moving fast at all. I'm 20. I think I almost said my Steam counter said 26 hours now, something like that. So I don't know. I think like I said, I just finished chapter 7, going into chapter 8 at the Gold Saucer. So we'll have an update on that again next week, I'm sure, because like I say, it's all I've got at the minute. It's all I've got on. Have you played anything Sheepdog? I've got other things, but I can.
Yeah,
but
I'm in a bit of a funk with this at the moment, because obviously I'd planned on getting Civ all along, and then Like not to be a downer, but basically I had to tell work I'm not in for another month, and then I was like, probably shouldn't be spending money on brand new PC games. So I've been saved a little bit in that. I think I said before that Pokemon did a thing where if you complete the decks in all of the different games, they give you a previously unreleased shiny. So I've been doing that as like a low effort. I'm laying on the sofa. I get 50 Pokemon in Scarlet, and getting a bit closer to getting that sorted. So that's been a bit of a time filler. I've been hammering Balatro, but I've been stuck on that. But what I'm kind of yearning for is, like, I wish I hadn't played Rebirth and could start it again new, or, and this is the dangerous one, I'm very, very heavily trying to resist the urge to start Baldur's Gate 3 again and do a different run. And I don't know how different the runs are, because I've seen people talk about dirge runs where you're part of that murder cult. I've seen people say you can do character perspective playthroughs where you play as Astarion or as Karlach and so forth, and you're just playing from their perspective, and you recruit people based on how they would interact. So you might not be able to get certain people because they don't like that character and that kind of thing. And I don't want to spoil myself by looking at how different they are. I'm guessing that we all just played it as Tav, the player that you build yourself and you play it from that perspective, right? Have any of you done it on a dirge mode or anything like that?
No, I've only done my basic playthrough.
Because I'm just like, I've seen people say somebody did a playthrough where they just killed every living thing in the game systematically, went through all 3 maps, just massacring the world, and I was like, Jesus, that must be a weird way to play it. I've seen loads of, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I could just pick the dirge one and see how different the story is. But what I don't want to do is go through it and just find that actually it's just the Emperor still, and I'm fighting the same end boss and that kind of thing. I mean, I imagine there's some of it that is still going to be the same like that, but I don't know how fundamentally different the story is, and I need to find someone who can tell me without spoiling it, I guess. But that's been tempting. I think last time I spoke, I'd completed Astrobot, but there was some that I kept saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do these ones; they're too hard." And then the next day, I sat down and rattled off like most of the time trials and all of the hard levels. I think there's only like 5 bots I haven't got now. And I'm sort of, I haven't actually tried with them yet, but that it turned out I was better at it than I thought. But yeah, I am looking for something to just sit and veg with. I was wondering whether the Persona games are on Game Pass, aren't they? So I can get one of them on the TV and just be playing it on the sofa. Is that a dangerous thing to be doing if I haven't got much energy, or are they all right for just like laying around doing like turn-based battles and so forth?
They're perfect for that.
Cool. Very tempted to start a Persona game, but then I'm also just like, they're quite long, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Only like 80 hours.
Well, the thing is, so I've just watched 7 seasons of Deep Space Nine and then rolled into watching Seinfeld. I don't know why I'm watching these old 90 shows, but rolled into watching Seinfeld of all things. I've never seen it before.
Oh, it's great.
So I'm just looking for stuff that I could just put on and it be there. And yeah, I think maybe I might have a crack at that then. But other than that, I don't think I've got anything new to talk about. I think that's probably my lot.
Okay, so I've don't ask me. I don't know why. I think I heard someone discussing. I think they're like Vanillaware, which is a company that they're an offshoot of Atlas, I think. Or there's something to do with Atlas anyway. I don't know. Anyway, they made Unicorn Overlord last year, and they've made 13 Sentinels a few years before that. And they were talking about them and something, and they mentioned a game called Dragon's Crown, which came out years ago. I'm like, did I buy that? I used to own that. I'm sure I did. And it turns out, yes, I did. It was on Vita. But they also made like Dragon's Crown Pro, which we worked on, which they converted to PS4 basically. I was like, oh, let's have a look at this then. I don't know what it was this week. Just it came into my head when I was listening to someone, and I was like, let's have a look. So I went and looked it up, and turns out I've already bought it years ago. Bought it in a sale years ago. I was like, oh, great. So I downloaded that and I've played about half an hour to an hour, just because it's like a bit of an RPG, kind of like a no, I don't want to say a belt scroller, but you know what I mean when I say a belt scroller times a game where where you go from left to right and you can go up and down on the 2D plane, and and enemies come on the screen and you beat them up, sort of thing. And then at certain points you get chests, and then you have a little rogue fella who is by your side, and he can open chests for you, and you get loot, and then you equip the loot, and you get skills and stuff like that. And I thought, this is cool. I think at the time it got headlines because it's incredibly bombastic art, it's very racy sort of thing. It's just a lot of big women in the game. Just I think the Amazonian woman was one of the ones. I don't know anyway, but okay, so I was just playing this, and it's just a neat little thing to try. I was I'm sure I remember playing this on the Vita, and I did do, but I like there is an ability in the game where you collect skeletons. Basically, you collect the bones of the dead, and then you take them to effectively a necromancer, and then you can bring them back to life, and then they become part of your party. I was like, oh, that's quite a nifty idea, because if people in your party die in the mission, they're dead forever. So you have to recruit new people through taking their bones back up to wherever you go in, and resurrect them and have them join your party. So you want certain team dynamics. I think I ended up with an archer, I think, in the bit of that I played on my team with me. I don't know. It just seemed fun. The art style's different and out there, so I was like, yeah, sure, let's give it a go. And then I inadvertently turned my PlayStation off because I had a daft brain fart where I just clicked turn off console instead of rest, and then I'm thinking, did that save? I don't know. Let's find out next time I turn it on, because I do not know now. So I just I don't want to know. And the only other thing I have played, I've played about an hour, just over an hour and 20 minutes, I think I've played of a game called Fort Solis. I don't think any of you will have heard of this. It's
quite a presumption to make.
Okay.
I haven't heard of it, but
no.
Still.
Okay, I assumed as much. It's a story-based game, very much like a. I don't want to say walking simulator because it's not that, but it's not combat-based or skill-based kind of thing. You're just there for the experience, sort of thing, and you are some sort of guy on Mars who's it's like a part of a mining facility or some sort of facility on Mars, and you get a alarm triggered from Fort Solis, a manual alarm from Fort Solis, and then they find that very odd because there's no one on Fort Solis. There's no one at Fort Solis now. So you go and check it out. You get in the little buggy and you drive across Mars and you go to Fort Solis, thus beginning the whole story. And it looks, it's a thriller, is what they class it as. I was very skeptical of it. It came in a Humble Monthly recently, and I was always very skeptical of it because I was like, it looks like a horror game. I'm not a horror game person. It's not for me. But it's not. The tags aren't horror in Steam. It's thriller. I was like, well, I don't know. Is that? It's horror adjacent, but it's not. I don't know. So we shall see how we get on with it. But it's only 3.5 hours long, so hopefully I'll try and finish it before next week or in the coming weeks. I'll try and get some proper time in it and get it done. But it's really good. From what I've just wandering about, looking at the computers, reading some of the emails, seeing some of the the video transmissions and the audio logs, just listening to seeing what's going on in this facility, and you trying to fathom your way around this place, and you get given a map and you can look at it on your little little arm panel. You have like a panel, like a little touch screen thing on your arm that you can look at the map and you can listen to audio logs through and whatever. You are constantly talking to someone. You've got somebody else at your base. You're going up talking to them through just over the comms. So you're talking it through with somebody constantly. So that's good. But so this game I think initially was announced with Troy Baker and Roger Clark. Who do you know who Roger Clark is?
Never heard of him.
He is the voice of Arthur Morgan in the Red Dead Redemption 2. So he's that, and he's done a few other different things as well. And obviously, Troy Baker who's like does many voices. So they're both in it. They're like the main two protagonists, sort of thing. They're the main two people in the game. You play it. Roger Clark is the guy. You play. You're the main character, sort of thing. And Troy Baker plays the guy who's like in charge, who's like the boss at Fort Solis. So you're finding lots of video or like audio logs and video logs of him. And yeah, it's just a really good performance. Just listening to him, just talk and it is just a very good, like, convincing performance. And you do want. I'm kind of I don't know what's going to happen. I've played an hour and it just started to go in a bit not weird, but like you're finding stuff that you're going, what has gone on in here? I don't know what's happening. I don't know why there's like blood through some of the corridors all of a sudden. You're like, I don't know what's gone on. We don't know yet. So we're trying to piece together this mystery sort of thing. And yeah, it's good. It's good. It's all right for what it is. I don't overly like the fact that you can't move at any breakneck pace. You are moving at a nice walking around speed. You're just walking around third person, and there is a speed up button, but you just get like a hurriedly walking animation. You don't really no running. There's no rush in this game, but I feel like there will be at some point, and I feel like I'm going to have to run at some point. But as of yet, no running around. I've been on the punching bag. I've been on the Stairmaster in the gym. I've done many different activities in the gym. Been through the canteens. Been through some of the living quarters and what have you. So it's interesting. It's a nice looking game. It is a very good looking game for what it is. I think it came out in 2023. I want to say late 2023. So it's not that old. Quite good. Like I said, I got it in Humble Monthly. So if you see it on anywhere like Game Pass or PS Plus or whatever, it's probably well worth a look. And it's only 3.5 hours long, so it's not even a huge game these days. But other than that is your lot this week from me.
Well, I believe that is us done then, boys and girls. So if you would like to hassle us on the internet, you can do that at Mgukpodcast. You can follow me at Lelujo.
You can find me at Sheepdog6K.
And I'm at Pab1986.
And we will see you next week, boys and girls.
Have a good week.
Thanks for listening, folks.